Hey there, I'm Scott Winfield, and welcome to Victorian Opera's web series Artists in Isolation. On this episode, we're delighted to be joined by a huge star from the world of musical theatre, Alinta Chidzey. Alinta, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
To start off with, I know you're such a huge foodie. What have you been cooking throughout the sort of self-isolation period that we've been experiencing?
I've been one of those sourdough people that have accumulated some starter from my sister.
Yes.
And so I ended up doing a bit of the sourdough and I actually got freaked out because the starter kept on growing and I felt like there was pressure baking happening. So I ended up having to keep on, producing more and more bread. And then I realised that you could stop it and put it in the fridge. I was like, otherwise I was eating so many carbs. But apart from that, my partner and I are very into Thai food. So we like to cook a lot from the Chin Chin book. We do this squid and pipi paste, red curry paste dish, which is divine.
Delicious.
And then and I also cook a lot from the Women's Weekly Vegetarian Cookbook.
Ooh, what are your highlights from that?
I love doing this. There's a mushroom polenta, which I adore, and it's so
Oh, how
simple.
good is mushroom polenta?
I will share it with you guys.
Oh,
if you
please
want,
do.
because it's the simplest dish and it makes you look like a really good cook.
Which foods bring you the most comfort?
Well, my mum is an amazing cook. I grew up on a lot of seafood. She's a Singaporean background, so I ended up having a lot of things like chili crab and, prawn dishes and what else do we do? Mussels and like a spaghetti marinara would probably be one of my favourites. And if I'm at my mum's, it would be chili crab for sure. We would go down to the Great Ocean Road for Christmas usually, and we stay down at a beach house down there for a week or two. And my dad and I would go fishing for abalone, which is like a type of shellfish.
Did you actually dive for it, or?
Yeah, so we dive.
Wow.
We got in our wetsuits and
Alinta.
put our snorkels on and
Triple
we
threat
go
plus a
down.
diver. That's not bad.
I'm a bit of an adventure. I like the outdoors. So I usually get a what do you call it? Like a lever, so like a knife, and you shuck them off like oysters,
Yes.
I guess. And then my mum would do all the dirty work and clean it and cook it and cut it all up. And
I have to say, like the dirty work, you're like diving into the ocean to get it.
I don't know. I think that's the fun bit.
Okay, that's good.
So that's the joys of Christmas time. But yeah, so cooking's a big thing in our family.
Given the timing of the lockdown, I imagine for a lot of people, the last time they visited the theatre might have been seeing you as Velma Kelly in Chicago, and what a amazing theatrical memory to hold, to take through COVID-19. But I wanted to ask you, it's such a timeless production and you were so sensational as Velma Kelly. How long had you wanted to play that role?
I've wanted to play that role since I was 16. I saw it at Her Majesty's Theatre with Caroline O'Connor, and that intro where she comes up out of the floor and with that music playing all that jazz is probably one of the most iconic numbers that any female music theatre artist could do. So that's always something that I've wanted to do, and the fact that it all aligned is amazing. As we know, it's very difficult for things to happen like that, but when they do, it is absolutely magic.
What was it like when you received the news that you'd landed the role?
I was ecstatic. Kind of yelled out at my agent on the phone, and then ran and told my husband. So it was, I was so excited and just ready to begin. I mean, I had to do a lot of Pilates and running to prepare for it, just to make sure I was fit enough. But that was, it's a dream.
Being such a huge role and having completed such a long run of performances before you entered into the lockdown period, what was it like adjusting from such a hectic schedule to a period of quietness?
I had a massive year because even before that, leading up to it, I was doing a little night music
Yes.
with you guys at the Victorian Opera, and also I had a lot of my own gigs that I produced myself. So I was quite exhausted, to be honest, And it'd been a very intense rehearsal period into doing a production in 3 different cities of Chicago. So I was a little bit relieved to kind of just have a break. But then all the live stream things started happening, and then I was like,
Yes.
oh gosh, I thought all my things were cancelled, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have like a little bit of rest. And then I ended up having to do these live streams, which is actually wonderful to be able to still, work in this time for any artist. It's absolutely grateful for that opportunity. But yeah, for me, I actually did need a bit of a rest. But, I was going to be starting The Secret Garden
Of course.
was that this month, I think it would have been. And, that's a shame because that was, going to be in Sydney with Opera Australia and then coming to Melbourne as well. So it was a long-term period of work for 7 months as well. But, I think through this period I've really been trying to, my motto is that I just have to accept things and not resist, because I think that's when I start, people start to get upset or down or depressed, and and make sure that we're connecting with people like this. I think this is wonderful that we can connect to our industry and to our friends and family.
I think that's incredibly wise life advice. Going with the flow, in a sense that if there's any resistance at any point, not pushing for it. I kind of feel like, in terms of my own life experience, that if there's resistance in a situation, it's a message to maybe move in a different direction.
Yeah, actually, I think there's been several times in my life where, I think you can drive so much that sometimes it's forcing the issue. Whereas when you take, your foot off the brake, the pedal a bit, it actually, I sometimes find that it happens more easily. Like I found that with when I bought a house, I was like looking everywhere, and I was so desperate to like find a place, and then I just actually said, look, I'm gonna just have a rest for a minute and not go for it because I'm getting frustrated. And that's when it came, and then we ended up finding our house, and it was just amazing. And that's happened a couple of times with musicals as well, where I've auditioned for things and get so close, and then it doesn't happen, and then you kind of go, oh, and then, something else comes up, and that's the perfect role for you. So I trust in the universe that things will happen the way they're meant to happen.
And I think that's what it is. It's the trust in the universe that
Yeah,
what will happen, and you just need to be at one with everything.
absolutely.
You mentioned A Little Night Music, which you were amazing in for Victorian Opera, amongst an incredibly starry cast of such luminaries of the Australian theatre industry. What was that experience like for you?
As you said, it was an incredible cast. I mean, you couldn't have cast it better. There was, Simon Gleeson, Ali McGregor, Nancy Hayes, Elisa Collar. We had such a good group of people that, it was also a masterclass just to sit and watch other people's scenes as well. And we just had so much joy just, laughing because the script is very funny.
It's hilarious. Every line is so well crafted. Every line is hilarious.
So I felt like it was a real privilege to be able to be part of like that Sondheim musical in particular, because I think it's one that most people can connect with, and really complex, love stories, but also hilarious.
Living in a period where you're away from live performance, which aspects of connecting with an audience do you miss most?
Well, having just done a couple of live streams, the things I missed most was the audience, because it is really strange performing to an empty theatre. There's no gauge on, how what the energy in the room is, what the audience is receiving. So you're really pushing a lot of the energy forward and not necessarily receiving any back. So I'm actually exhausted by the end of them. But I think the last one I did at Geelong was great because, there was a bit of interaction where they, shut up some of the comments that people had throughout the concert. And so I could talk to them and, connect in that way. But it's, the audience is everything. Without them, we can't perform. It's just not a thing where theatre can exist. So I really do miss them. I miss, the laughter. I miss the sense of gauging where I want to take, say, a song whilst I'm doing it, because, maybe a solo will go longer or something, or I can say a joke and someone might actually laugh. But it's, for now, that's what it is. And that's, I'm grateful for the opportunities.
Your partner, Remco Kaiser, is a sensational jazz saxophonist in his own right, and one of your most frequent musical collaborators. What does music bring you guys as a couple?
For us, I think it's really lovely to be able to work together. Not everyone gets that opportunity. So for us, we like to create, new programs together, and also write our own music and composition. So, yeah, that's wonderful, that we can be, in each other's space a lot of the time. And, he was on the band for Chicago, so that was also wonderful. But
that must have been so beautiful to share that together.
Yeah, it really was. It's so special. And the funny thing is, because when you're on the bandstand, you can't necessarily hear all the dialogue. So the couple of things he's like, I don't understand why it's so funny. So he actually came and saw the very last performance because he had to leave early to do the Michael Bublé tour. So he came back and he's like, could only see the last performance. So that was great.
How did you find balance when you were doing that show? Like how disciplined did you have to be in terms of giving the performances the energy that you needed to give?
It was challenging. You really do have to look after yourself. Rest as much as you can, eat well, sleep well, all the same things that everyone hears. But I like to have a balance of social life as well, because I feel like that keeps me mentally well. I would catch up with people, say, when I'm in interstate that I haven't seen for a long time. But it's definitely a challenge. It's tiring. Some days you're like, oh gosh. But, the thing that always gets me through is I remind myself that, someone is seeing it for the first time and they've paid a lot of money. And I would hope that if I was watching, that people are giving their best performance. So I really do endeavour to do my best. And once you hear that music, I mean, how could you not?
Reflecting on COVID-19, what's brought you balance during this period?
I would have to say, I've been trying to really keep, mindfulness happening. So I meditate quite a bit. I did one of these, the Deepak Chopra
21-day meditation challenges. Fantastic.
It.
I've done it. I did that last lockdown.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. And I loved it because it also connected me with other people more so. So we kept on, you'd always check in. So you were sort of connected in your own way by doing this meditation. And then, lots of things did start arising of things that you value in life, and the things that you think are important, and what things you want to attract in your life. So that was wonderful to do. I recommend it if you're looking for something. What else I've been doing? I've been exercising a bit. My friend just arrived back from New York, and she was doing these, fantastic exercise classes, and we do it on Zoom all together with, quite a few people from the industry actually. And so we're just like check in twice a week, work out, sweat out. Like we're always like moaning and groaning, but it's great. And then we have a little chat afterwards. So that's a really great way for us to all connect.
Alinta, as our final question, what's the first thing that you'd like to do after this time passes?
Look, I'd love to travel. I love traveling. We were planning to go to Mexico in May, and I've just always wanted to travel like South America and Central America, and I just was one of those dreams, and I was like, oh, well, we're just going to have to wait, but that's okay. I'm actually, totally accepting of it, and when it happens, it will happen, but I love traveling. I think that would be the thing.
Where are your favourite places to travel? Like, where do you cast your mind when you need a little bit of escapism?
Well, I mean, I love nature a lot. I like to be outdoors. I think there's so many wonderful places in Australia, like like up in the north with the Daintree
Oh, the
rainforest
Daintree,
and all that.
beautiful.
It's
Yes.
beautiful. I'm a big water baby. I love, Great Barrier Reef is incredible. I actually want to go back there again to just have a snorkel or a dive. But yeah, when I go to visit my husband's family in Amsterdam, I always make a side trip to Italy. It feels like my other soul home because the food's good, the people are amazing, and the scenery is incredible, and so much history. So I do look forward to going back there because every time I go back, I go somewhere different.
Where have been your top picks in Italy?
I loved Sardinia. I loved Ravello, which is near Positano, down in the Amalfi Coast, and also Lake Como was absolutely beautiful. Tuscany. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, we can't go wrong.
Alinta, it's been a joy to chat. Thank you so much for joining us, and please stay safe.
Thank you for having me.
For more chats with artists in isolation, you can follow Victorian Opera across social media or visit victorianopera.com.au. I'm Scott Winfield. Thanks for watching.